Hello, happy Monday, everyone. Hello again. We were just on that incredible call with Jack. Hello, guys. Okay, I am so ready for today. So, what I wanted to bring in, I wanted to do some hot seat coaching with you guys. And I want to really anchor in the theme of self trust to go bigger. So, there are a whole lot of big deals in this group. And what I am noticing is our self-trust, when our self-trust drops, and literally the tiniest piece, it's almost like we absorb it and eat it up and kind of grow it bigger, right? Like almost like this bacteria that grows bigger, 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 bigger. What I want us to do is I want us to trust ourselves in our bigness to move forward. So what we're looking at and what's been a theme with some of my private clients and one-off calls that I've had over the last 2 weeks specifically continues to come back to this theme of self-trust, of not trusting yourself to go bigger, to move faster. What's happening a lot too is this over processing. Now, I am all one for this deep healing and us going into the deep work and understanding. We need to understand in order to reprogram. But I'm also seeing the self-sabotage come in the deep work of staying there and staying small and staying in the I need to find an answer and I need to know why in order to move forward. Our processing, I can say to you guys that everybody inside of this space is doing their work for a lifetime. There's a lifetime of your work that you are open to doing and being and receiving. And there's also a moment when we got to be that's not stopping me. That's not holding me back. That's not something I need to stay here with in order to move there. Right? It's going to continue to show up. The moment that it's when we're allowing it to become bigger than us, sabotage has taken place. Resistance has popped in, not because of the thing, but because we're allowing it to take over us. We're allowing it to become bigger than us and our self-trust. There are some people that walk an entire lifetime with a continued wound, with a continued element of healing, and it doesn't stop them. This is what it means when I talk about walking side by side. Like when we walk with fear, we still walk with it. We don't let it take over us. Otherwise, we're stalling, right? We're stopping. So what I want us to be doing is I want us to be activating a deeper self-trust, a deeper understanding of our bigness. And I want us to move with our bigness. I want us obviously to see our blind spots. I want us to see these elements that are popping up, that are colorful and bright and that are trying to grab our attention. But I don't want us to stop our momentum or pull ourselves backwards because of it. I want us to see it. I want us to change the frequency. This is what I'm getting at. I want us to change the frequency around what we're seeing with it. Because I think a lot of us are seeing it almost as like a disability, right? As a hindrance, as a huge, heavy weight on us, instead of something to be like, oh, I see you. All right, cool. We're there. I see that. I notice that. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep exploring it. I'm going to keep seeing it. It doesn't need to be perfect. It does not need to be completely cleaned out. It does not need to be completely healed. It does not need to be completely figured out. You just have to trust yourself enough to move with that thing at the same time as you're moving forward in this bigness. And if we continue to go back to our power around I am a big deal and why you're a big deal, this becomes very effortless. It becomes very easy. Because you being a big deal does not take you out of the human form. You being a big deal does not mean that you're not going to have these colors that are popping up around you where you see the thing, you see the blind spot, you see that element, right? It does not stop you and it does not mean that it's not there. We need to walk in this experience with it as we're building something bigger, as we're being this big deal. So, in the name of this, I just want you to sink into really letting this land in your frequency, of letting this be the truth for you, that you are a work in progress and you are a big freaking deal at the exact same time. I want you to feel the power in that. I want you to feel the power in the fact that you are powerful enough, you are courageous enough to see those spots and still walk. That you are not here to be perfect, that you are not here to be perfect. You are here to be human. And in your humanness, you have chosen an elevated stance for you, an elevated state and an elevated experience in your lifetime. And that's what you're doing. Jess, I'm a big deal. I'm covered in vomit and still here at 3 a.m. You are a big deal. You are a big deal. You're a big deal not only to us, but also to your kids. And I want you to remember that too. Like, you are a big deal to your kids. So you're going to look back and tell that story right there and be like, that is a big deal. And, you know, in that experience too, even that example is such a perfect example of like, we don't always feel like a big deal. When you're covered in vomit, you don't feel like you're a big deal. This is a state of mind. This is a state of being. This is a frequency we choose, and a frequency we continue to elevate to, continue to. I remember changing diapers. I literally remember driving home from a cottage, the cottage we were at, going into a Tim Hortons because my little one had to go potty. We're on the potty, and like a 10K payment comes through, and I'm like, I'm at a Tim Hortons, literally like can't wait to get home and shower in my own shower, feel like a hot mess. We're on the potty, a payment comes through. Literally, like, part of me was like, oh my God, like this is like this, like this. And I'm like, whoa, how do we shift this to being a big deal? How do we shift this to being a big deal? Because that does not feel like a big deal. Obviously, the money coming in did, but the entire frequency around it doesn't. So how do we shift that? And so many of us are looking for those tangible things outside of us. And this is where we need to lean into, like, you being that frequency is the only thing that attracts the frequency, right? That's the only thing that's going to change it. That's the only thing that's going to attract in what you're really desiring, that richness of life, the tangible results. We have to hold the frequency, because it's so easy in life. It's so easy in comparison to say, I'm going to give that trust away to somebody else. I don't feel like this, and so I'm not it. It is so much more powerful to move ourselves in the frequency that we desire to be holding. It is so much more powerful, and it is that much more difficult because it is easy to sink back into that normalcy. Okay, trust and keep going. I love it. Okay, I'm going to start up instead of working backwards. Okay, I want to be less irritable. Re-HD, please. Meaning use HD to be less irritable. Okay, we will get there. I feel like you're honestly watching your call this morning, even with Jack, and I just feel like there's this different openness about you and this ability right now, Leah, to just like step into, turn off the mind. I think a big part of this is turning off the mind and just moving and just moving and just moving and just moving. There's a complication that happens when you're overthinking and overanalyzing the things, and also trying to figure out the how, why, what, when, how is it going to work, that keeps you here. And then that frustration, like, it's like friction that happens, like a friction with your frustration that then makes it even bigger, rather than turning off, going. And I think you're tapping into this, like, let's turn it off. Even if you're going in these pulsating forms, like I turn it off and I go, and you're starting to feel that difference, right? Of what it feels like to be in that state of flow while the brain is off. Olivia, question, how to go back to the self-trust when we are disappointed? A choice, a lesson to take and move forward, going back to the energy of the sacral. Okay, so actually I just talked about this inside of Boxer, going back to Maya's question this morning, but that's such a great question. So when we see something and we feel that we're disappointed, the biggest thing that we're going to look at this is we're going to see this as the lesson and the opportunity to grow. So every single time, and you guys, I have to be so vulnerable and so open. I've been so disappointed so many times in myself, in results, in this journey and in this process. And when I'm able, the faster I'm able to say, okay, like, I feel disappointed. Why do I feel disappointed? First of all, do I feel like I've disappointed myself? Do I feel like I've disappointed somebody else? Like, really looking at like where the disappointment is coming from and why, without keeping myself stuck there, right? While holding this higher power to work through, and then allowing myself to really zoom out and say, okay, so if I'm disappointed, what's the lesson? You know, in the cleanest forms of, like, if you are disappointed with your partner, or you're disappointed with a child, or someone's been disappointed in you, it's usually because there's a highest good there. You know, there's something that you dropped with an integrity within yourself that somebody's calling you to a higher standard for, when it's done in a clean way, right? I can be disappointed in my kids without that being shame. And that disappointment is because they did not, you know, really live in their highest self, the highest standard of them, the morals and values that are true and right for them, their own power or own leadership, or even own self-trust. So I think the biggest thing is to go into, how is that disappointment a reflection in where you dropped your own integrity or your morals or your standards? There's something about you that it's not the result, it's the process of it, you know? And when we look at it just being like, oh my God, like that's it. Like I let go of this. I didn't do this. I, you know, disowned myself. I didn't trust myself. I let somebody else take that power. Like, what is the thing that created the feeling of disappointment for you? Because that's your opening. And like, that's literally like the crack in the road where you're like, oh, okay, we see that. And now we can actually like fix that, right? We can fix that because now I know, and I'm going to be able to move forward so that it's not a perfect road. Now I know that experience and I understand it, but now I know that we've, you know, like mended that road. And it's just the opening of trust within yourself to do that. Olivia, come on up.
And I think like for me, it's the projection of the situation. So I just ended my masterclass and I think I project something. So that's why my question was maybe also like a mindset question, because it's okay, I have done what I have to do. And then I just move on and go to the next thing that excites me. And for me, I think it's just like also a mindset, because I've prepared the way I wanted to prepare it. I say what I wanted to say. So I think for me now it's like more a projection and observe it. And then, okay, I recalibrate my belief, my thoughts, and then I move on.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes like that disappointment again can be like a conditioned disappointment. Like we think we need to do it a certain way. And our truth is that we don't, right? We don't want to, we don't desire, like your way feels right and good for you. So it's again going back to your truth. When you stand in your truth and you say that, the disappointment diffuses because it's not something to be disappointed about. It's your truth and how you operate and how you're choosing to do that, which feels right and true for you. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we're going to start our hot seat coaching. So put your hands up if they're not already up. Are they up? They're up. Yay, you guys are on it. Okay, Luella, come on up.
Oh, am I unmuted? Oh, that was quick. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I just looked down to unmute myself and I was unmuted. I was like, whoa, okay. Alpha team is on the ball. So, you know, like I have no, like I almost feel like I'm too much in my goddess energy in a sense that like I know that I'm a big deal. I trust in the universe. I feel like my decision to move from therapy to coaching is absolutely what was necessary, what I need to do. But now I'm at the point where I'm kind of going, like, I'm scared I'm not doing enough. And it's in regards to selling, of course, because obviously you're not going to be able to do anything if you don't sell anything or work with people. So I think that's my biggest question is sort of the lean back energy of being in the goddess energy. And I mean, I know this question isn't new. We've been saying it over and over in this mastermind, but how does one sort of springboard, you know, their way into this? Because, yeah, like I trust the vision that, you know, I trust, but I'm a little bit worried about trusting too much, if that's even possible. Like I can't do what Jack's doing right now. You know, just believe. Like, I mean, she's already gotten to that point, right? Where she can just like sit back, and I'm not. Like I'm at like ground zero. So I need to feel very, yeah. And it's just, you know, it's not comfortable feeling.
Yeah.
So,
okay, I know exactly what you mean. Actually, I have a private client right now that is moving through the exact same thing. And my analogy and advice is, so here's our manifestation, right? So we have a magnetic monopole that literally pulls everything to us, right? We don't really we don't repel anything. So you're not repelling your clients right now, right?
no.
But your energy and your ability to pull it in is also us moving at the same time. So what we want to see is like two trains, right, on a track. The manifestation is coming on this track. You're moving this way, and we actually want to meet. So when we're too much in that energy of lean back and not doing the thing, you're sitting here and like it's on a like I want you to think of it's like on a track when one moves, the other moves. If one doesn't move, the other's not moving. It's still there. Like you said, the vision's there, the reality is there. I know it's there, but if we're not moving, we're not pulling it in.
Yeah.
So especially when you're starting your business and when you're or making a big change in your business to have, you know, alter it and go online, you have to be doing the things. You have to be selling, you have to be showing up, you have to be making the posts. Like consistency does pay off. It does pay off. All of us built our businesses from a place of consistency. We sure didn't build it from, you know, of just sitting there and hoping and believing and trusting and you know, so I would say in this, like, trust your feeling right now, your internal feeling. And this is what I mean. Trust the bigness of your feeling, trust the bigness of what you know to do. There is no rule that we all should be in absolute goddess mode right now. I think actually we're into the boss mode right now. We're supposed to be making these moves, right? We're supposed to be moving forward, badass mode. But there is no like calendar that's structuring all of us to fit into this exact, like, here's your 5 days and all of us are on the exact same cycle as you know, like we're all on our own cycles in business, in our journey, in our path, in our trust, in our alignment, all of it. We're on our own cycle. So you have to trust yourself and your bigness to move forward. Whether that means the lean back and goddess, whether that means a beautiful vacation and getting that glow, whether that means coming back with that glow and being like, let's get to work. Let's do the thing. You know?
And so like, can you bring my human design into this a little bit too? Because like, you know, as a role model, 6'2". So I feel like I'm at that role model stage now. I've done everything. I can guide, no problem. But then there's that 2, that hermit. That's like also I know a big part of me, like a big part of me. Even like I do work with the Enneagram too. Like I'm a number 5, and number 5, it's just all about like, you know. I'm not into the small talk, like big social gatherings, like, you know. So have you worked with like that type of profile when it comes to sales and strategy? Like I love writing, like, you know, when my post in the Matrix, I mean, when Cassandra said, you know, an author, like 100%. And like, and I could see myself being, you know, high ticket calls, one-on-one work, but to the masses, it's more like my gift is my writings and my teachings to the world, you know, sort of thing. But that's a ways away. Like, I mean, you know, so it's sort of as a 6'2", and anything else about my design, can you guide me a little bit more there?
Absolutely. Yeah. So even having your defined throat, like this is, first of all, I would be speaking of your entire experience of your career. I would really be showcasing the fact that you are shifting your career right now, and the amount of experience, the amount of education, the amount of, you know, even people you've worked with is going to be mind blowing, right? Like you have a depth of not just personal wisdom through life experiences, but you are highly educated and highly prepared to be doing this work. You know what I mean? Like really show the upper hand that you have. So in your strategy, I would be talking about that a lot. I would really be showcasing not just your experience in real life and wisdom and depth and what you were born, you know, here with of your gifts, but how you've actually developed that into such a practice and a very professional one at that. Like, I think there's a lot of, you know, people that shy away from the professional work, but I think it's very important for you to be showcasing that. Your defined throat center, you want to be talking a lot. So again, if you can do, I think I saw a live one of these days recently as something popped up, but do as many lives as you can. Really be seen, really be seen for your knowledge, really be seen for your gifts. I would be pulling in real life examples of either, you know, what you've recently experienced inside of clientele work, wisdom that has poured through inside of, you know, a theme, a topic, an overarching even emotion, like having your emotional center connected to like what this means, what this looks like, how, you know, you would be linking this or noticing this potentially inside of your business. right? So bring everything you know to be true, and now filter that through in you speaking and writing. It would be the same for writing, but filter that through in a very I just see the words professional and structured way for you. Like really put it out there and sell that, like sell it. Like do not be afraid to sell. Again, especially when we're getting this going, we have to get really comfortable with selling. Selling only becomes really effortless and easy, and we don't sell as much when we are so comfortable with selling what we have to offer.
Alrighty, I think, just, I mean, it's what I was thinking, but I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, get out of your head and get into that, again, momentum and movement forward of, I know what to do for me. I know what's right for me. I know how to do that, and then going with it and put all of your trust into that, whether it's a very vulnerable post, whether it is opening up your heart, whether it is, again, bringing in all of your experience and all of your education and credentials, right? Whether it is bringing out your deep wisdom and your heart and your soul and, you know, that depth that's there to you and that connection. Like, again, a lot of people are going to be very, relate a lot from your storytelling, from the connection that they have with you. So speaking as much as possible is going to be really powerful.
Okay, one more question surrounding, have you worked, like, because I do like whatever seasons, and right now I'm really talking a lot about relationships, like a 2 in a relationship, because you know, like, have you worked with, like, run relationships in a 2 with 2s being like closed off somewhat? And
yeah, 2s need their space. They need a partner that's absolutely going to understand that they need their space. They need their disconnection from them. A lot of times, you know, in the relationship building, it can be difficult because a 2 can actually go like all in and be very connected, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, that pull back of like, okay, now I need my space, and then their partner's like, wow, what do you mean? Like, this is very different than what I've been experiencing. So it goes into like their natural state, their connection with people is heightened because, again, that person would be seeing them and really seeing the good in them and like amplifying all of their gifts. And then as things kind of normalize in a relationship, that 2 line would then need that hermit, like, I gotta reconnect with self and go away and not have almost that like blissful state of like what the other person is offering them. And then again, need that person to pull them out. So if that person isn't understanding it, it could feel very like, where are you going and why and what did I do, versus, oh, I understand why you need to do that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Because, you know, I really noticed that because this is the first vacation my husband and I just went on our own. And although, I mean, I really enjoy his company, at the same time, I'm just like, you know, you want like something else you want to do, or like, you know, on your own sort of thing. And the one thing too that I found difficult is like, he is not on his phone at all. And I'm not either, but like with the matrix and, you know, the posting of the reels and stuff like that, like he doesn't even bring it to dinner with him. Like, it's just sort of like, and I know, like, he noticed me, it's like, you know, do you really have to take a like, do you have to take a picture? Do you like, what is all this? And yeah, it was kind of humorous, but like challenging at the same time. But you know, I appreciate that in him too. Like, I just like, he's just a guy's guy, like, you know, just like, so, but yeah, I mean, I have
over communication, right? Over communication. If you can over communicate exactly why you're doing something, like why it's important to you right now, why you're on your phone more than usual, it again creates that connection and that understanding for him to be able to be like, support your needs and support you in what you're doing, right? And get it, rather than feeling like, oh, this is very different, like what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, next up is Nikole. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I have a couple like pretty different questions. Okay, so one's about money and one's about relationship. So my partner is taking me to Bora Bora at the end of this year. We were supposed to go over a year ago, or I don't know, we were supposed to go like a year ago, and it got canceled because life was crazy. And now we're finally able to plan it. And we were discussing last night, like, do we fly first class or business class? Because he knows how much I love flying first class. But first class tickets are $7,000. And we had this whole conversation, and like business class is $3,000. And like, I was invited to Spain last minute a couple months ago, and first class was 10,000, and I had no interest. I was like, just give me, I just got business class, it's 3,000. It's like no big deal. I'm like, I had credit card points for it, whatever. But this time it feels different. I feel that nudge. And this nudge is like an opportunity to level up and lock in this new price. And it scares me because my logical brain is like, you could use that for this, you could use that for that. Back in Spain, you didn't need first class. Why do you need it now? And so I just would love some coaching support around like locking in higher priced experiences, luxury expenses, that this can be normal and good and safe. And would just love your insight on that.
I love this. Okay, so anytime, first of all, it's very exciting, but anytime that our investment is going to amplify our energetic state of being and our energetic understanding of the world, it is worth it. 100%. When you don't feel like it is going to upgrade your energetic state of being, like the other one to Spain, like there was no interest in it, irrelevant, doesn't matter. It's not an investment that's going to upgrade. We have to be like, yes, that is me. If you are seeing yourself at that place right now, it is an investment that is going to pay back. So anytime we feel these luxuries of life and these luxuries and these desires for them, sometimes, we get, even in the work that we do, we get so like invested in the investing inside of like the programs and the opportunities, right? And the mentorship. Such a shift in my life has been the investments in who I am outside of a container. And really bringing it to real life, like this is my real life. Like, this is what I do. This is how I fly. This is the standard. These are the things, these are, I wouldn't buy this anymore now, because I think it's bad or wrong. It's just the standard that I hold for myself and my enjoyment in that luxury. So anytime it makes you feel a certain way, you will get it back. Anytime it puts pressure on you, you won't. Yeah. Anytime it feels bad, you won't. Anytime there's like a feeling of like I'm just doing this because I should, or I have to, or it's blah, 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 like it won't. So don't do it. But if it does, if you feel it, go for it. And every single time, I promise you, it skyrockets you to, especially real life experiences, to a whole new world of seeing what your world gets to be and who you've been working towards and who you are. Like, that's the thing too, is that the timing of this is like this expansion of where you've had so much growth and there's so much going on, right? Of course, there's an opportunity of this up-leveled experience where you're like, oh my God, like this is me, and that's why I want it.
I love that. I am so good at investing in containers, masterminds, groups. Like, I love this idea of like investing in real life experiences and in who I am. Okay. That was so good. And I can't read all the chat, but I did see Michael's comment. You don't have to buy first class. You are first class. Fuck, that landed, Michael. Yeah, it's so good. So good. Okay, that really landed. Thank you for that. My other question. So my partner and I have been dating for over 2 years, and we are like secret about it. And that's because he's really prominent in his company and in his industry and a public figure in his world. And there is a chance that he could be fired for dating someone like me. And so we've had to be quiet and hush hush, but at some point we want to come out publicly. And he knows this because he knows like the only reason we're not engaged yet is he's like, I know you want the whole world to know. And I'm like, you better believe it. I want the whole world to know. And he's like, well, before that can happen, we have to come out public as a couple so the world can know that before we get engaged. So what we've been kind of waiting on is he has like a lot of money coming from his company over a span of time. And we're just waiting till like a big chunk comes through so that if he does get fired, we'll be okay. Hate thinking like this, but just being really honest with like his industry and how they operate. But he brought up a good point last night. We're like, so in my OnlyFans and in my life, I'm really open in many ways. And I just refer to him as my date. I don't even say necessarily my partner all the time, to kind of keep things like elusive. And we're kind of in a quasi open relationship. So I'll say like, oh, I'm dating someone, but we're also dating other people, to really downplay, so that when we come out and if people freak out, I can cover my tracks and say, I'm dating a lot of people. It's not just him. But we have these experiences. We have these incredible experiences together. And I will usually take the lessons from our experiences and share them with my people, whether it's about dating, about relationships, about open relationships. And so, for example, this weekend, we just had our first foursome experience, and it was the most mind-blowing, incredible, erotic experience of my life. And I'm so excited to talk about it on my monthly sex ed live streams, but keeping them anonymous. Like, oh, my date and I went to a sex club and we blah, blah, blah. Right. But he's like, well, once we come out, they're going to now know that I'm the guy you're dating. And now all these experiences you've talked about, I'm attached to. And I was like, fuck, because now I'm like, how do I teach from my experiences by keeping him completely anonymous? And I've done it for a while, where I'm just like, oh, like I made it about the experience, but my fans have so many questions about relationships and dating and communication and love. And I feel like me and my partner excel in that. But if I can't talk about him, I can't even bring in relationship. All I can bring in is the experience. And this is for a bunch of different things we do. So do you have wisdom or insight on how to handle that?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many factors here. So the first thing I would do is like really sit down together as a couple and really go through the things that would feel really good for you guys, because this is like a very real thing, right? This is very real. This could affect his world. This could affect your world. This could affect your relationship ultimately. So I think the both of you need to sit down and go through all of the possibilities of, like you just said, like, oh my gosh, like that just realization just clicked after this weekend, right? With what now people would know it's him. So I think you guys have to write down all of the possibilities of how it could affect his work, his life, right? That side of his life too, where other people don't know, you, your work, your life. Like go through these factors, write all of these things down. And then in the middle, like you guys, your relationship. So then I would move through, okay, so if this is going to affect, you know, potentially his job, are you guys good with that? Right? Can you have a united front? So I think everywhere you want to go through, like what you write down and what you list, you want to say, are we strong to the point right now where we have a united front, where we're solid, we're golden, no matter what happens, no matter what somebody says, no matter what happens, no matter what the response is, no matter what a reaction is, we are so solid. Because at the end of the day, it's about you two being solid, and the whole celebration and the whole lead up to, you know, an engagement and all of the things is you two. So we want to be in a place, the two of you want to be in a place right now where you are, no matter what happens, completely unshakable before you move forward with that. Right. Until then, there's a lot of ways to play. And I would also play in all of the options and ideas. So if he's like, well, you know what, like, I'm not willing to sacrifice my job if that potentially will happen, or I don't want these people to know that, right? Could be that truth for him, which is perfectly fine. There is then going to be an alternative where you guys still get to get what you want with each other in your life, in your relationship, and an alternative way of doing that. So what we want to do is, again, go for win, win, win. He's winning, you're winning, you guys are winning as a couple. And ultimately you are unshakable no matter what goes on around you. And that your positioning in your lives, in your professional lives, are secure and taken care of. Because that is both of your identities, I feel like, are very powerful in your field, like in your work, right? In your professions. And if one of those are going to be taken away or altered, whether that could be yours, right? How is that going to affect you if you can't talk about all of those things, or you don't share him, or you don't share his name, or you don't ever share a face? There's so many like things online where it's like, ooh, like you see him in the background, or you see his hand, or you see his leg, like but not a face, right? Could there be a mystique about him with you guys? Could there be the mystery man? Like, who is this mystery man where you show enough of him, but it's not him? How do you feel about that? Right? So coming to, again, this place where it's not affecting your career, it's not affecting his career potentially, or if it does, you guys are unshakable. And I would literally play out, there's a million more possibilities that you guys haven't come to yet, but the ones that you are aware of right now, like what would that look like for each of you and you as a couple? And are you both good with that? And if not, that's a place where we're going to re-navigate what the reality is for you guys. And right now there's enough time and space in between. Like, this is perfect. It's divine timing. Like, there's no rush to get engaged. There's no rush to get married. You guys are figuring this out and being as prepared as humanly possible, so that, again, the bottom line is unshakable, 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 unshakable.
Yeah, I feel like we already do that. Like, if you watch my stories, you'll see a hand, you'll see a foot. Like, I love the mystery, and it's so funny because I know it's obviously him. But I remember like a couple years ago, I was in Hawaii with him, and I'm just showing like our glasses clinking and stuff. And then I had a girlfriend, I'm like, "Oh my God, I love that you're going on so many dates while you're out there with like so many men." And I'm like, this is hilarious because, like, to me, it's so obvious the same person, but to her, it looks like I'm dating different men. So we've been doing that for 2 years, like just being really mystique, and I love it. It's been so playful. But now it's like he will be tied to everything I've ever shared. And now that I'm hyper aware of that, now I'm more nervous because we were anonymous and mysterious, it's like no one knows now, but when we come out as a couple, there will people who will connect the dots. And that's what I'm afraid of for him. Like, I feel like my work can handle it, but I feel like that can either increase his chances of being fired or some kind of kickback from the press. And so I just don't know this balance between speaking my truth, and he like so wants me to be like free to do that, but knowing like we don't know yet the consequences that will come from how much truth I'm speaking now. And so well, even or ever in the future, like once we even do come out publicly, I don't even know if I can still be open and honest about what we're doing if he stays at his job. So I feel like we're doing everything you've said, and now I'm more in the gray of, oh fuck, even though everything's been mysterious and anonymous, now when we are no longer anonymous, or he's no longer anonymous, he will now be associated with all these things I've talked about.
And that's why you guys need to talk about all of the possibilities, and he has to share how he's going to feel about that. You guys have to come to a ground of like, okay, if this does happen, how unshakable are we as a couple? How am I going to support you? Are you good with that? Are you not good with that? What would throw you off the most? What would feel the worst for you? What would feel the best for you? Maybe this is completely liberating and freeing for him. Who knows, right? But like, I'm sure you've had these conversations, but go deeper into them. Put them out as a real possibility. Like this, like, how are you going to handle that? How do you feel about that? How is our relationship going to be affected by that? Instead of the possibility of like, let's just play it out and see how it happens, like really like become like unify, like become a deeper unit together, where again, like ultimately you guys have each other's back at the end of every single day. You also want the highest good for each of you and each parts of you. Right? Like maybe there is this big part of him that wants to continue to skyrocket in his career, and it would affect him, or he would feel a certain way, or he doesn't want that, like go deeper into the conversations, and maybe it's irrelevant to him. Maybe he's like, this is worth the risk. It's all good. Or there could be no risk, or publicity. Like maybe there's never any bad publicity. You know what I mean? Like maybe this could be a great thing. So play out though, like the emotional intelligence and the personal power that you guys are connecting together with all of these options.
Okay, I'll keep you guys posted. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Leah.
Hold on a second. Oh, all right, never mind. Okay. My question, I think, is going to be pretty quick. I've taken on your thing of eating constantly. So now I'm hungry and irritated all the time that I have to eat constantly, and I hate eating, so it's really irritating. But anyway, I'm doing it because I trust that goddamn left arrow. So whatever. Anyway, so my question is, what else do I have to do? Because last time my husband was like, you're in a bad mood like 80% of the time. I was like, no, 70. Anyway, it's terrible. So like, I already know a lot of the reasons I'm in a bad mood is because I'm like, I feel good when I'm making sales. I feel good when I'm not speaking English. I feel good when my children are like engaged with other people, but I don't know if there's like other things that I can. So like all the time I'm not doing those things. And I feel good when I'm doing pole, which I'm not doing for years. And that really bothers me and I can't figure it out. Anyway, but just like basic things of like, because I remember you talked about irritability or something at one point, and I know I'm not living my highest truth. I'm trying to fucking get there, but I'm not there yet. So in terms of like all the things, like massage school starts April 10th, but anyway, just, I don't know, anything.
Yeah. Okay. So I think like in the irritability, like there is, how irritable do you feel? Like, is this like a projection on anything, or like, are you genuinely like, I am very like, at that 70%, it's 100%, I'm actually very irritable, and it's not just like sarcasm or like personality, of like being in that. Like, I feel like you have a very like, you
Well,
are
I mean,
very,
to be really, really honest, since COVID, like I already have like mental health challenge, like that I've really worked to balance, and COVID really, really fucked me. Well, the vaccine and then COVID, whatever. I really got fucked up from that and messed up a lot of things that were balanced, like hormonally and blah, blah, blah. So that's a real like added problem. But,
Totally.
and I've always been an irritable bitch. That's the truth. So I would like to change that. I mean, I'm also a loving, generous sweetheart,
Yeah. So I was going to say on that though, do you love yourself like with who you've been? So outside of the COVID, all of the added additional, the way that it's affected you, have you always loved yourself for who you are as, being an irritable person? And happy and compassionate, all of the things, right? Being you, outside of everything else, like, have you loved that you?
I mean, definitely not in the past. And everyone was like, you have a terrible attitude and whatever. And then like all of that, and definitely come from a family of complainers. So like trying to change that, but like people always loved me. Like certain people like wanted, lots of people wanted to marry me no matter how irritable I was, so it's like, I think I definitely had a lot of self-loathing and like judgment. And I really like worked my ass off to get rid of all that. So now I'm just like, there's definitely places that I want to improve and up level and not be like shitty for sure. And I really like, like that's a big part of my work, is being like compassionate and understanding and non-judgmental and blah, blah, blah. And I really am looking for more things like the eating thing. I know you're leading this in a different direction, but like in a really practical thing that I can like badass do, at least like to be like, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and let's see how that may or may not help.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, before I go to the really tangible thing where I was going to go with it, like, I feel like you authentically are very authentic. Like, you are your authentic self. So I think that there's almost like an added, like a projection that you need to be a different way. Like, I love that you're sarcastic. I love that you're very, blunt and say things. I think where you catch yourself is important for you to be doing every day, which I think is going to be the practice that we put in, where you're going into a negative attitude that does not serve your truth, right? Where it's like, ugh, like I'm just kind of pulling myself back down versus being who you really are. If 13 men want to propose to you and you are incredible. So I don't think we want to take away like, your personality, who you are, and become this. And I don't think that's your intention either, to become this bright, bubbly, person. You're you. So I think we need to come into the place of like, let's stop trying to change you. Let's start being more of your most authentic self, loving who you are, allowing those that are attracted to you be attracted to you for who you are. And we want to catch you in the moments where you let yourself slip, whether it's your mindset, whether it is, going into patterns, whether it is kind of that sabotage between like, I'm being my best self, but I'm going to pull myself back down because it doesn't feel good to feel better. Like, I want you to take, maybe like this is going to be your tangible thing. So on that consistency, I want you to write down. So with that consistent arrow, we're going to be writing down every single throughout the day, at the end of the day, in the morning, you pick, middle of the day, whatever is going to work for you. But write down the things that you've loved about yourself today, and the moments that you've caught yourself being like, that's not my best version of me, because I want you to see how much you do love yourself and how much people do love you for who you are. And I want us to just do those little shifts in being like, all right, well, yeah, that wasn't really the most authentic, truest, purest version of me. Like I slipped there, you know, that was a little bit ugly there. That wasn't kind to myself. That wasn't kind to somebody else. That thought wasn't kind, whatever it is. But I also want you to write down all of the ways that you've loved yourself today in your most authentic state of who you are.
Okay. I mean, all right. I mean, I guess I do feel like maybe I really am, and whatever, I don't have to call it, but let's just quote, like maybe I really am just really shallow, because I really am in a lot better mood when I make sales. Like I'm just in a much better mood. I really am. And people are always like, it's not the money. Once you get the money, you see, and money makes you more of who you are. I realized that like I had this breakthrough that like if gifts are my love language, like that I want to have a charity. Like I give to people, everyone on the street, like I buy them stuff, like that's all I want to do. So I'm in an irritable mood when I can't like give to the way that I want to give. So therefore I'm like, well, how do I like, what's at the root of that? Make more fucking sale. You know what I mean? Like it just goes in circles. Like, but I'll try your thing, but it's like, I want it to lead to that result. I know we all do, you know what I mean? But like, that's what And
I mean, I'm like that too. I love money. I like making sales. I love when a sale comes in. I feel freaking great when a sale, you know what I mean? Like I'm like that too. I get it. I totally get it. So I think it's the self-ownership of that. And there's almost like you're even carrying a shame around that. Like, let that be true. We just don't want to make you in a shitty mood and carry a shitty mood because a sale didn't come in. How do we now channel that energy and that truth and that authenticity to be like, all right, badass, let's go. Let's put some offers out. Let's get into the zone. Let's show up. Let's do the thing. Can you channel that energy into the productivity of that truth? It's not even the outcome of the desire of like, I'm just doing it to get money. I love making money.
All right. I'll write down the thing. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay, thank you, Juliana. Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
So, I have a question about your post today on IG.
Okay.
How to be rich as a projector. Create freedom. Settle for nothing less. Laugh more, cry more, create space, and be bolder. So, can we unpack that for a projector?
Absolutely, we can.
Yeah.
Okay, let me pull it up though so I can actually see the writing of it.
It was this one.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to like actually see the thing. Actually, I have it on my computer. So
specifically on like the freedom piece, and I'm starting to get it. Like I feel like I've been such a hard driver for such a long time. Probably for like the last 5 years since the kids were born. So let's say 7 since my son was born, 6. Of like doing all the things and the career and traveling and raising babies and all of that, which before kids, I mean, I still was a hard driver, but I had more time for me. And now that's like the last thing that kind of gets put on the list of things to do. So I'd love to unpack that, like in the context of building a business, creating freedom. Like what does that look like? Not necessarily like being a mother and like go get a massage, not like that, but in the context of a projector building an empire.
Okay, so what you're going to look at for freedom inside of like literally building your business right now, are you the most activated? Are you only talking about the things that you're in love with doing? How are you actually managing your time? Because what we want to do, the freedom is going to come from our freedom of choice, our freedom of doing the thing that literally we love being seen for, and then the freedom and the spaciousness we have around that built-in time of work. So again, we're highly efficient. We're not meant to just sit there and do nothing. You're going to literally go crazy if you don't let yourself work. It's not about not working as a projector. It's about putting in the focused time and literally taking out all of the irrelevant stuff that is irrelevant. Like you could go off the base of something so simple. And when you put your focused energy and power into that, you create something so much bigger, where we think all of that extra fluff is going to add to it, where it actually takes away from it. It's like you're spread out. So again, we want to like compact things, right? We want to compact our energy and compact our power. So instead of spreading it out, we want to put it into like one channeled little container for a certain period of time where we get all of our energy, and then the freedom around that outside of the work.
So in the case of, so I have one program that's like evergreen, and I might launch another one, but I'm not particularly feeling it right now. So for this one program, I mean, the compacted effort, it should be pretty straightforward, right? Like, I mean, I'm not really out there selling aggressively. But with the compacted effort, be like, okay, for an hour a day, I'm going to show up on social media, I'm going to write these posts, and then I'm done for the day, kind of thing. Is that what you mean?
It's like, yeah. So literally it'd be like, okay, so you have, let's say you have 2 hours, you're going to go live here. You're going to go do a reel. You're going to do an IG post. You're going to do this. You're going to respond to emails, whatever the things are that you want to be doing. You're going to post a sale or post something selling the thing, show up on stories, done, boom, out.
Okay. Yeah.
So our freedom is in the focus. Like our minds literally are like this one lane, like when we're in our power, this one lane street. So if we can put and literally structure your days like that, like boom, here I am working, boom, 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 boom. We have enough energy to go do that. When we try to max it out is when we start to hit the the lows throughout the day. So put it into back to back. I am, 2 hours straight, 3 hours straight, whatever it is, do the things in your highest power. So again, you're exerting all of you. This is like, performance kind of based work, like putting all of it in there. And then you're out. Give yourself space and time, throughout your day. You have an hour with no kids, be ready to go get the kids. Go do whatever you need to do, whether that is a nap, whether it is something else. Start offloading the things that literally drive you crazy, that drain your energy. Like if instead of going to the grocery store, you can order groceries, do that. Simplify the rest of your life for that freedom, because then you're going to feel more present with your kids. You're going to do the mom thing. You're not going to have that guilt at the end of the night that you're hopping on a training or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to feel present while you're there. You're going to have the conversations. You're going to feel present. And I know that your husband's not home during the week too, right? So it's like, there's a lot on you. So how do you simplify things and how do you zone things?
Okay. And then the part about create space and be bolder. So we talked about creating space a little bit, but being bolder for a projector for like what I do, does that, like I have visions of like super bold photo shoots. I mean, obviously I'm not going to do, I could, I'm not going to do a photo shoot like every month. Right. So, and also like, there's just a gap between like the vision of like, oh, this is super cool, or like, this is really amazing, or I'd love to do this. And then the reality of like, okay, I don't have that wardrobe and I don't have that setup and I don't have this thing. Like, how do you think about bolder in context of, every day?
Oh my God. It's literally all in energy. Like you could go, so many of my outfits are literally from Zara. Go find the things that are going to be staples, that are simple, that are powerful, or whatever. Speak to your energy. Go find the staple ones that are not going to be like super flashy. So if you're not doing photo shoots every month, I would say every 3 months, like for sure, get in every 3 months, but literally find like the most simple things that are powerful, that speak to you, that make you feel a certain way. You do not need to spend a lot. It does not need to be big. It does not need to be extra. Again, we're zooming in with an energetic frequency. So if your mind can get on board with like bolder, 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 what does bolder look like for me? What does bolder feel like for me? Let's do the thing. Again, you could have a photo shoot against a wall, the camera, by yourself, start practicing, start embodying, start practicing your posture. Like, what does it look like in your body? Because I think really what the gap is for you is the comfortability in it, right? Mm-hmm. It's not about, you can be bold, you want that boldness, but now you have to get comfortable with that. And that's going to be play. That's going to be experience. That's going to be doing the thing to activate the like, yes, I've got this. I can do this. again, it doesn't need to be a lot of money. Like you could hire a photographer for an hour to hash out some photos, get comfortable with a photographer, book a place in town. You know, you don't need to go anywhere else. Like literally start looking.
Okay. Have you, like when you started, did you do that? Like, did you do your own kind of at home photo shoots and stuff, or do you still do that?
all during COVID, like when there was no photographer, I literally, like, this ring light, it's the exact same ring light I've always had. This is the one. And literally my old house, I had like, my walls were a little bit whiter than this, and I would just put my phone right there. I swear to God, it was the tightest little space. Like it was between here, not even there, that I had room, because I had a door there. And it was just right there. And that's all I did. I would just get really simple clothes. So jeans, black tank tops, literally still what I do. And I would just reuse, recycle them. Think of the refinement of how I would like to wear my hair, do my makeup, again, a way that I can do it, not something I can't do. Achievable for me, but refined for me, bolder than what I was yesterday. You know what I mean? Like just going in those steps and playing with it, getting comfortable, allowing yourself to, like, again, harness in that power.
Cool. Okay. I think that actually would be super fun to do. Yeah, in between when I'm not working.
Exactly. And like sometimes though, like that's play, right? We got to be like, okay, like, or that is part of work. Like, you know, there's a day or you get a hit and you're like, let's go. Like it doesn't have to take a long time. Again, you're not striving for perfection. You're striving for getting the thing done. Momentum in your bigness, like momentum in your bigness today it's going to be bigger yesterday. And then you're going to have a day where you're like, I'm done. I'm not showing up. I'm not being seen. I'm not doing the thing. That gets to be okay. Momentum in the next day is bigger, right? Like just go through, but as long as you're continuing to move with the boldness and your truth and your trust in it.
Okay. So when you say bold, that is like, it's the aesthetics, but it's mostly the energetics. It's mostly like just showing up and like owning your space and owning your voice and like all the things, like unapologetically. And
absolutely.
For projectors, some people will get that and some people will be like, not.
Totally. It's thinking it and feeling it. So the biggest thing, like, see yourself before you do any of it. Like literally go in and be like, I am bold. I am feeling bold. I am like, bold is coming from within. It does not need to be a certain way. It is always coming within. It is coming from your confidence. It's coming from your voice, and it's coming from your trust in what you're presenting.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you. Okay, Ashley.
So I wanted to talk about vision, and it kind of ties into what Juliana was asking, but I feel like a lot of times I self-sabotage myself in the sense of like for the last few years and stuff, I was really working hard to like burn myself out, but achieve the lifestyle that I wanted. And so then I was just like, okay, well now I need to not really work a lot and just like heal myself from burnout, from just a lot of different things, and kind of was like, oh, well, maybe it's just easier to just live like this simple life and not necessarily always be striving and going. And I know that like a vision is obviously a really big piece in that. And so I wanted to kind of get your thoughts and just touch on it, because I know sometimes I feel like in the for me piece is helpful, because I feel like sometimes I'm like, well, I want to do this healing for me necessarily. And I don't really think like all the time, like, oh, I'm going to share this or I'm going to do that. It's, you know, it's like, I want to heal. But then when I am coaching and teaching, like, I really love it. But you said something in the Voxer of just like, you know, what's your vision for your life, and like to someone else, and like talking about like how you want these things and that's what you're building towards versus like a broader vision. And that was actually really helpful to hear. So I just wanted to, riff on that a little bit, because again, I feel like I get caught in the self-sabotage of like, oh, but do I really have to do that, or this, versus allowing the vision and like getting clear on my vision and allowing that to really propel me.
Yeah, I think what's going to be really helpful for you is having like seasonal visions. Right? Like, who are you in this season? What's really important to you in this season? What is success to you in this season? Because I think sometimes you get really pressured in like that long term. And then like, if you're like, okay, well, I said this, or I got to do this, or like, this is what's getting me there or to the next place, but like it's not good for you. You know, so I think if you can come to a place where, first of all, like our bigger vision is ultimately, especially like, we shouldn't be chasing money, because you've experienced it, you know, when you go, like there's going to be a point where like, that's not even like, what are we doing with it then? Like, what's the point, right? So ultimately what we're doing online, what we're doing in this space is creating, you know, your most powerful self, being the most empowered, having the most fulfilled life, having the most beautiful relationships, allowing yourself to, you know, understand yourself in the deepest ways, having the space and ability and choice to have all of the healing that it is wanted and or required to continue to grow and evolve. There's so many moving pieces, but we'll go in seasons. Like you'll be in a season of like, instead of saying, okay, this whole year is for healing, can we just break it down into like these chunks? You know, like this season right now, like the season is healing. I'm going to step back for a minute. I'm going to do this for me. I'm going to let, you know, the success that I've worked for and the success that I built is providing me the stability and the safety net right now to have this healing. And we'll see what next season brings, because when we do the healing, there's growth and there's evolution. So like, let's get to that season in the next season, you know, and then I'll prepare for it.
Okay, yeah, I like that. So even just thinking about it in like quarters or months, like I'm focusing on this for this amount of time. And yeah, okay.
And then I think it's like coming back to like success for you, success for you, success for you, rather than success in like, you know, standardized success or success of what it's supposed to be, or success, you know, in comparison to what success was last quarter, like success for you right now.
Okay, got it. And again, just relate it all to me, not necessarily to, I mean, external
Exactly.
people.
Yeah.
Okay. And that just ties in.
Yeah, because that'll be the freedom and that'll be the spaciousness, right? That is a projector we need. Like if we don't have that, like it's not going to continue to fly.
Okay, got it. Okay. And then my business obviously grants me that freedom. So figuring out how I can align it in there.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, Cassandra, then Christie, and then we will wrap up. Hello. Oh, you're muted. Oh, you're good. You're good. Okay. Thank you, Christie. Come on up.
Hi. Thanks. We kind of just figured something out between Jack and I in the Voxer, that maybe I don't want to do any programs, that you do these, maybe I should do things that are similar to what you're doing. She had said that you're doing smaller masterminds and they have like a topic. And I actually think that what it appears is that I kind of want something similar to you, actually, when I look at it. It's like you want lots of space with your family and your kids to do the things that you want to do, which I want as well. And I just had this clear thought that maybe I need to speak more about like those pieces that are really important to me. Because I think my head has been going into where I was before. Like, this is how I created my business. These are the things that earned me the income that gave me this lifestyle that I'm living now. And instead, I think I just need to talk about like what was behind all of that. Like, what was the higher context? What do I really want to create? And what am I in the movement of? For some reason, the programs feel like too much and they feel a little bit empty. Like I'm a really deep, intense person. I love the interaction directly, and I want like kind of smaller containers for smaller periods of time. So I wanted to hear two things from you. I wanted to hear a little bit about your mastermind, how it is that you structure that in the context of the life that you're building and living for yourself. And then the second thing I wanted to know about from a leadership perspective, when you are leading from this place, like, and freedom is my context. Like that is what I ultimately want in all ways. And I want everyone to experience that. So I've been getting stuck because my mind thinks like a business, like traditional, how do I get, and I'm just like, that's not even me anymore. So that's what I wanted to hear a little bit from. How do you lead from those places?
Yeah. So, well,
and I'm a generator too. I wanted to, in case you wanted to know, like if there's any specifics for freedom as a generator, what we need.
Yeah. So I think like, well, first of all, like the only freedom you're ever going to be cultivating is like when Sacral says yes, right? If you say should or need to or have to, you're literally going to like freedom that will feel like so spacious will literally feel like this every single time. So we want to really navigate that and be super aware and conscious of when it goes like this and you feel like you have no freedom versus like what freedom looks like and feels like for you. But yeah, I really always have done my masterminds. I think I've done one or two that were longer and I didn't love it. I love to come in, you're a fifth line as well, but I love to come in with a very direct, like, here's what we're going to do. Here's the focus, here's the theme, here's the concept, and here's what we're going to transform into, right? So a lot of, again, identity work. Like I do a lot of identity work and my masterminds are really focused around the identities. And I sell at high ticket. So I love intimate spaces and containers too. I only want, a certain amount of people inside of those spaces and containers. I will run them for usually between 5 to 6 weeks. Inside of them, again, it is like kind of curriculum based, like here's what we're doing in each of these. I will re-navigate my containers based on the people and concepts or topics or whatever that are coming up that are very real and true for them in order for it to, again, be differentiated and really give them the most out of what they're coming in for. And then I'll do those group calls. So we'll do group calls for 5 weeks out of the 6 weeks. We have full Voxer inside of it. And then I usually give them an option. So we either have 2 30-minute one-to-one calls, or they can pick private Voxer days. So the open Voxer with the group, and then they also get private Voxer days, but they're choosing either the one-to-one calls or the private Voxer days. Usually they always choose the one-to-one calls. We do them on video, and again, they get recordings of that. They get to keep that forever. They get to keep all of the recordings from the calls too. But it literally, like, I'm a big believer in like show up and come in for what you need. So inside of my intimate containers, like I am leading them, and I run things a little bit different where it's like amazing, you form relationships and all the things, but like that's not my context. My context is let's transform. So I don't hold, like, I'm not like, okay, like, support each other and whatever, like I'm doing that. So in order for me to facilitate that, I want that intimate space and group. I want to know each and every one of them inside and out. I want to know their relationships. I want to know what's going on. I want to know, like, what they're crying over. I want to know what makes them happy. I want to know what success is. I want to know those things so I can help, again, facilitate the transformation for each and every one of them. So that's why it's like basically a one-to-one with a really focused, zoomed in experience of what we are transforming into. So obviously my whole thing is human design. So many of my masterminds have been based around something that is very relevant to each energy type. So for example, Projector is like the most recent one I did was too much, like being too much for other people. And then the fear of too much, we can't handle too much, right? Mm-hmm. So the too muchness, really owning that. Other masterminds I've done, the takeoff for many gens and gens, like how we just let go and like take off and break free of the judgment, and own the boldness. And then other ones I've done together, but that are going to be, again, very differentiated inside of our one-to-one work outside of the calls and with the common understanding of what we're doing. So Allure was the manifestation program, so the genetics of manifestation. So again, they're learning how to manifest individually based on their design, but we also have the topics and understanding that everyone's going to take inside of the group calls. So that's how I run them, and that's why they are high ticket. That's why I do charge, because it is essentially one-to-one inside of that group container and small and intimate. And my leadership is like the transformation. Let's transform. So it's not about, let's see what comes up. It's like, we know what we're doing. Everyone's ready, prepared, and like revved up and ready to go. So in that's created a lot of spaciousness for me, because I'll have my one-to-one clients. I have my mastermind clients that will only be with me for about 6 weeks. Again, the amount that I have in there will be between like 4 to 8 maximum inside of those spaces. So again, those one-to-one calls are super spaced out. I'm calling in really profound leaders into those masterminds, which again elevates the leadership and spaciousness in my life because they know what they're coming for. And we're not trying to, we're not figuring a lot out. Like, we're embodying this, we're learning this, we're doing this. So it helps direct them in a really focused way too of growth inside of their world. And then it opens up my ability to, after that mastermind, perhaps then I run a group program, right? So it's not like group program and group program and group program and one long mastermind overlapping. So I have more spaciousness to figure out what the next thing is, or wait for the hit, or take a break, or, launch another mastermind instead of a group program. So it really just develops a spaciousness inside of my world to lead with what is right and true for me as well.
Oh, that's so good. If there was anything in my anything that you would suggest to me to elevate and to because I think I'm supposed to work with leaders as well. And that's, I think I actually have a feeling that I'm supposed to work with those that are very, very successful, who have had, lots of responsibility in their work life. And then they have other aspects of their life that they really want, and they feel like they can't give enough attention to, like they feel like there's a part of them that's missing. So I feel like I could go in and work with mostly those people. So if there's anything that you would suggest to me of what you think that I could do that I would need to do in my brand to call in that, what would you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I'm on this, but I have a strong intuition that there's going to be so much more corporate opening up. So anyone that's coming from a corporate background, I would love to be seeing you guys talking about your experiences and your expertise that is coming from corporate, because I think we've really undervalued the experience and power and leadership that we get from corporate and professional careers. So I would love to see that inside of your work and really bringing that in, because what I'm seeing for you is really breaking down the pressure that people are walking with, and the overwhelm, and the stress of either of, really being the CEOs or really high profile positions inside of professional worlds, and or navigated into their world, right? A similar journey to you, and the pressure that they have on their shoulders in the transition, the pressure that they've been walking with, and all of a sudden they're realizing I can breathe again. But sometimes that wave hits when we let go a little bit, right? So you have the channel of wavelength, which is coming from your spleen to your throat. And literally what this is all about is we explain this kind of in the sense of in the generator mastery, but a ballerina, right, will go and perform, practice and practice and practice and practice and practice, and then performance. So it's that's what you're doing throughout your entire life, and you're becoming more skilled and mastered within the performance of it. So that's why I think bringing out your skill set that you have and really putting that on display, and then linking that into the elements, like you said, the context behind everything that's really important for you, and linking those together in your mastery of what you've done, how you've been able to do that, the navigation of that, and the compassion and understanding of what people are navigating in their world before they actually walk into the world that they're creating.
The compassion and the what did you say? Having the compassion. So navigating, you said, so bringing my mastery of what I've done, and then you said and how I've navigated that.
I just feel like you're also and also a very compassionate person. You're very understanding, there's such a warmth. So really showing again, I know, again, that very corporate kind of mind and energy and power, but also the soft understanding and openness, and I get what the pressure feels like, even the navigation of your business to make big decisions, and to be that courageous, and to be that bold, and to go out into this side of things and feel new over here when you're so confident and powerful over here. The identity again of how we shift that, everything that you have to go through internally to hold your power over here, and kind of the space in between of moving to that new caliber of what you're setting yourself up for.
Okay, and then last question for you is, do you think there's any training modalities or anything that you think that I maybe that you think that would be a good help for me to, I mean, I have such a broad knowledge base and skill set, but I'm wondering specifically in the coaching and in this area, I know you do human design, but would you recommend anything? Do you have any intuitive hits on that for me?
You know what? Like, it really has to light you up. Like, looking at your sun sign, like this is coming into anything that's like really influential and transforms you is going to be something that you're really wanting to focus on. So I don't see this as like a niche per se. I see it again as like maybe a yearly niche, like, or like maybe like a niche, but then all of these little like arms and legs that come out from it that you create offers off of, but are this overall context. But that has to really like light you up and whatever that is.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And then Mary says, Amy, how do you design your offer suite and sales strategy based on your design and what feels most aligned and satisfying? I literally go with the hits every single time. Like, I don't structure anything for the entire year. I've done one program for the entire year. It was a super low offer. And like, I literally wanted to be there. Like, I showed up so much. It was actually crazy. It was actually an error in how it all happened, but I went with it and it was great. And again, like the depth of relationship and being able to give back, like it was really a service-based, like I wanted to do it because I wanted to serve, and that's what I ended up doing. But I everything I've ever done and created have been off of a hit. So it either comes off the back end of something, a realization of something, or from an experience that I'm experiencing, whether like something I'm moving through, or like a creative hit in my world of, if I go somewhere or travel somewhere, do a photo shoot, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got it. So it really is the embodiment, and it's the openness to be like, I don't know what's next. Like, I don't have pressure of what's next. I'm not in a state of like, oh my God, where's the money? Like, how am I going to figure this out? I literally always know it's always working. And my energy, if my energy is pulled back, I have to operate in my highest self. So it's not just like, I'm just going to wait for something to land. Like, I have to be showing up as her in order for it to come into my sphere, but I'm not out like looking for it and like trying to figure it out and like digging. I'm just like, all right, I am it. I'm being her. I'm showing up every single day. I'm holding this power. I'm working on all of the things. I'm so open to it. Also doing a lot of the energetic work, because my downloads will like literally like, they feel like they just like pop into my head. I'm like, oh, I get it. And if my head is busy, or if I'm not giving attention to like turning my head off and like taking the energy out of me, then like it's not going to land. It's like so like busy in my body. So I have to let all of that out for those things to land. And you know what, like I want to say, like with one-to-one clients, I used to get really stressed about one-to-one clients. I did. But the biggest thing that I realized, so like there's this one point, my son was super sick. He had like an emergency surgery. This would be like coming up on 2 years ago. So he was only 1.5. And the month before, I would say 6 weeks before, he was super sick all the time. We could not figure out what was going on, like really, really, really bad. It was like all the time. And I was like, I only had one-to-one client at the time. And I only like will take up to 5. So I don't have a lot of clients anyways. Yeah, that photo Melanie posted of me and him, but it was like, I was like, what is going on? Like, I was like doing the things, I was like showing up, I was feeling it. I was like, trust. Like when you guys are like, how do you just trust? Like I was doing it. And I was like, also like, what is going on? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what's happening? And it was like, Melanie we could not figure it out. Like she's like, well, you're not doing anything wrong. Like there's nothing wrong. It's just for some reason not working, and she's like, just trust that it's not working for a reason. Trust that it's not working. Like the right people are going to pop in. Like one-to-one clients are like, again, you need the right one-to-one clients. So I was like, okay, I was so frustrated for those 6 weeks of like in myself. And like, again, like, is this just like the end? Is this not going to work? And like, am I not powerful enough? Am I not this enough? Whatever. So then we go to the hospital, and then they're literally like, I was just frustrated. I was like, I was doing all of the things, I was like continuously like being clean. I was getting support. I was asking the questions. I was showing up. I was truly doing it from like a clean place. The only place that wasn't clean was then like, what am I doing wrong? And that was the frustrating part, where it's like the things I was doing didn't seem like they were landing, So then it was like, okay, this openness, we go to the hospital, get sent away, go back. And then like the third day, so I went 3 days in a row. And then finally they were like, oh my God, like we need surgery like now. And then I was like, oh my God. And then it was like, okay, like maybe it'll just be like, an easy, like, okay, this will fix the problem and we'll leave. And then after they're like, yeah, like you're not going home for like a really long time. So after they figured out what was going on, they were like, he's going to need antibiotics, like IV antibiotics for, I think it was like over 8 weeks. And he's not going to be able to leave the hospital. This was also the peak of COVID. Nobody was allowed in. Like it was like literally him and I in like we weren't allowed to leave the room, like to go anywhere. Like it was crazy. So, and he was obviously in like a high state where he's susceptible. So they were like, you're not leaving for 6 weeks. And I literally was like, no, what do you mean? What do you mean I'm not going to leave for 6 weeks? They're like, and I didn't have, they're like, well, you and your partner can switch off only every 12 hours. So we could switch for 12 hours, but he wasn't in the picture at that time at all. So I was like, I don't have anyone to switch off with. They're like, nobody. I'm like, no. And it couldn't be like, it would only be my parents, but they were watching my girls and they couldn't come in just for an hour. We could only switch for 12-hour increments. And at that point I was like, I can't leave because like, if something happened or my parents don't know all of the history, right? Like they haven't been here. So, yeah, my parents had the girls. So it was like, then I was like, oh my God, thank God I didn't have a one-to-one client sign up. Like, thank God a one-to-one client didn't sign up yesterday or a week ago. And I had to be like, of course they'd be understanding, but like, I was like, I needed this space to not worry and not be like, feeling that guilt or feeling that pull. Like I literally was like all immersed right there. And Melanie was like, see, this is why, like the universe knows, like, if we want to look at something and be like, the universe, God, source, whoever knows like 6 weeks in advance or 6 months in advance, like what's in store for you. And like, they're protecting you right now. Like they're holding you in your highest safety net when you're showing up as your highest self, right? Like you're being fully protected to what's to come and what's best for you. And you don't get what's best for you in that moment, but like, they know. So I was just like, like that moment changed everything. And I was like, I get it. When we think it's not working and we're literally doing all the things, like you have to be radically honest with yourself. Like I was doing all the things, like I get it. I get when I'm not doing all of the things and I'm like, oh, right, that's why, like I can't just be like, I'm being protected. Like, no, that's on me. But like, there's also moments when we're just like, you just trust and you just get it. And you're only ever going to get it in hindsight. You will never know before, you will only get it after. But that changed everything. And that took off so much pressure of like needing it to look a certain way or needing there to be, a comparison of how you should be doing it or why. And it also gave me the bigger perspective of like holding that context and vision for yourself, no matter what, like what's right and true for you is right and true for me. Why I created a business that I created was for moments like that. That's why. And nobody can take that away and nobody can tell me to run my business any differently because I know what I need. I know what they need. I know what I'm building, why I'm building it and how I'm building it. So like the moment that somebody says something that would like be contradictory or like polarizing to the way that I run my business, like I'm running it for me. I'm not running it to appease anybody else. And I'm running it for the people that want to run their businesses that way too, like end of story. So holding your vision in your context and what's true for you to a highest perspective is going to give you the most enlightened experience in your business. I promise you. Okay. So if you're planning programs and a masterclass content, nothing is coming through. What do you do? I have the title, the vibe, but I'm like, what do I say? Yeah. So, I mean, this is self-trust, right? Sometimes like I've had the same thing where I'm like, I trust what's going to come through is going to come through. And other times where I've like, again, we have PDFs, we have things made, like I know what I'm talking about. Maybe this is like I know you're going through a lot of like this feminine opening. Maybe this is like, let go of a little control. Can you trust yourself to show up and trust what's coming through you? Can you trust that you have a big enough like holding of what this title and what this masterclass is about that you're going to speak on it? So this might be a challenge and a test for you to take a new angle and a new edge rather than that control. And it's just, expanding you. I feel like it. Okay, that is it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, a title and 3 bullets. I think so, just in case. Just in case, but not planning the whole thing. And like literally, this is like a challenge. And maybe that is actually in there. Like talk about that. Talk about that to them. All right, that's it, beautiful people. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the replay. We'll be in Voxer a little bit tonight. Oh, I'm so happy, Jess. Thank you. And this is the week. This is the week of movement. This is the week of boldness. This is the week of bigness. This is the week of trust. This is the week of authenticity. This is the week of letting it all out and going with it. Okay, love you guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye.